In the previous chapter, Jooan told the sect leader's bell, shocking everyone. He revealed Zi Wuyu's badge and took control, ordering the entire sect to march to Mystical Heaven Sect. Venerable She watched with a sly grin, ready for the chaos. Let's begin the chapter. "What's going on here? Who told the bell?" Venerable She demanded, his voice tight with tension, as he strode into the hall. He looked like he had just arrived. An elder stepped forward, pointing accusingly at Jooan. "Venerable She," he said. "Jooan holds the sect leader's badge," and rang the bell. "He's calling this meeting, and he wants the entire sect to march on Mystical Heaven Sect." "What?" Venerable She's gaze narrowed, shifting between Jooan and the badge he held. Jooan met his stare with a cold, defiant look. He knew Venerable She was a power in the inner sect, and that he could contradict even the sect leader himself. Having the badge was no guarantee of obedience, and if he was blocked, he wouldn't hesitate to make an example out of She. Jooan's eyes flashed, with a dangerous bloodthirst. The older members of the sect, those who were aligned with Venerable She, looked on with mocking disdain. "You're just a disciple," they seemed to say, "with a little bit of recognition to your name. Even if you're sect leader's right hand, you still have no real power here if Venerable She is against you, trying to use that wooden badge to intimidate us. You clearly don't know the strength of the inner sect." Venerable Chi and others from the labor office watched carefully, calculating their best move. If Jooan was going up against Venerable She, they would side with him. Even though this order seemed abrupt, even insane, the implications of following the badge, the labor office representative, could not be ignored. In the end, be it a power, grab in an empire, or the conflicts between sects, it always boiled down to following the one who aligned with their interests. Jooan was their bedrock, so no matter how ridiculous his request was, they would support him. It was a fight for their position, their future. The hall was instantly divided. Two sides glared at each other, ready for a war. A bitter clash loomed, threatening to tear the sect apart. Then Venerable She's actions stunned everyone into silence. Both factions stared, utterly bewildered. He bowed low before Jooan. Well, actually, before the badge. "Greetings, sect leader," he said with complete respect. "I obey your order." Venerable She. His faction gasped, their confusion mirrored, by the labor office side. What was going on with She all of a sudden? Why did he surrender so easily when he had always fought so hard against the sect leader? Could Jooan's aura really be so imposing? Their minds whirled with confusion at the sudden change. Venerable She glared at them all, his tone severe. "Impudent!" he barked. "Jooan carries the sect leader's badge. That makes him the highest authority below the sect leader. His words are the sect leader's words. How dare you defy his orders?" "We won't," they mumbled, heads hung in shame. Jooan and Venerable Chi's side were equally perplexed, completely dumbfounded by She's odd behavior. Did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning? Ignoring the confused looks, Venerable She smiled, his voice warm and inviting. "Ha ha ha. Since this is the sect leader's will, we must follow it, of course. But we can't leave the sect undefended. May I leave a few inner sect elders and disciples behind to guard it, Steward Jooan?" Jooan eyed him, his brow slightly furrowed, and then nodded. He had not wanted to bring the inner sect elders in the first place. The labor office was enough. Adding inner sect elders, especially these ones, could cause all sorts of trouble at the worst moment. Although She's attitude was odd, very odd. In fact, Jooan knew they did not have the luxury to think too long on it. Time was running out. "All right," he said, his voice firm. "We'll do as Venerable She suggested. The inner sect elders and venerables will stay behind, while the labor office members will follow me." He nodded, his voice booming. Everyone responded with nods and bows. Venerable Chi's group was still wary, of course, but they kept silent. Even Venerable She, who had always opposed them, did not question it, so why should they? Jooan then led the group out of the main hall with great fanfare. The entire sect was in a clamor as the disciples gathered to prepare to leave. Watching the activity, Venerable She wore a cruel smile. An elder next to him frowned. Venerable She, why would you allow such a risky action? It's precisely because it's so dangerous that we have to let the kid do it, Venerable She said, his voice low and sinister. I can't let him slip away again without making a mess, ha ha ha. Getting rid of just him isn't enough. We must eliminate the labor, office completely down to the root, or they will rise again and we'll regret it. Since he's so eager, we should encourage his chaotic plan and let him destroy himself. The others frowned, their faces showing worry. Only the Grand Elder understood the wisdom of it, shaking his head with silent recognition. The kid, he thought, has gone too far this time. The demon-scheming sect disciples were soon gathered at the gate. Gang and Jooan among them, of course, since they were closest to Jooan. Tens of thousands of disciples stood ready, their faces grim. Jooan looked around then, with a final nod, led the charge, marching them all from the sect. The once bustling sect was now deserted, eerily silent, with only 100 or so elders left to hold the fort. 2 weeks later, Gang and the girls were tense, their hearts aching with worry, waiting for news from Jooan. Another month passed, and they grew more anxious, worried about Chu Ching Cheng and the others' fate, as well as if Jooan could even get any help. Rumble. The sky turned dark as thunder rolled overhead. Black clouds loomed, reflecting the despair they felt inside. It was oppressive and hard to breathe. Looking above, they realized those were not clouds. They were an ocean of people. And, they were all coming for them, led by none other than Jooan. Lang cried out, his voice stunned. Heavens above, Steward Jooan brought the entire sect with him? Why are there so many people just to get our girls back? One of the girls gasped, her voice incredulous. How powerful is Jooan? For our sake, the sect leader is willing to go to war with the mystical heaven sect. They looked completely dumbfounded. The other two girls looked excited and hopeful. Across all the Western lands, there was only one man with the charisma to move so many people. Jooan. It wasn't that others didn't have the power, but no one else would be insane enough to go to war over a girl. No one except Jooan. Whoosh! Jooan began to lead the descent. Lang and the other three ran to greet him, their hearts full of gratitude. Steward Jooan, Lang said, your name is so widespread and your influence is so great that even the sect leader gave you this kind of power. We are in awe of being able to follow someone like you. Jooan made a gesture for him to keep quiet, his tone low. Keep it down. This wasn't Ziwuyu's idea. Luckily he was away, so I could bring this many. Huh? Lang felt a shiver run down his spine. And also, Jooan continued, grinning at the four, these guys don't know why I brought them yet, so don't say anything and just let me do the explaining. They all looked completely shocked. Lang was shaking. Steward Jooan, he thought, you didn't even tell them and you still brought them? What will happen when they find out we're just here to save some girls? Won't they be furious and turn on us? He felt like crying. He could even see his master over there, his master who hated him being with Han Qianying. And how angry will he be when he finds out the whole reason for being here was to save her? Jooan patted his shoulder, his eyes knowing. Do you want to save her? I do, Lang answered instantly. How much? With every fiber of my being. Lang spoke heavily. Jooan nodded and smiled, confidence shining in his eyes. Then, leave everything to me. With a confident look, Jooan turned to face the elders and released his powerful aura. Watching him, Qilang finally realized that Jooan was truly different. They were hesitant even when they wanted to do this, but Jooan was a man of action. That was why, he thought, this mere disciple had led most of the demon-scheming sect's elders and venerables here to save their girls.